Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Western New York. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. Believe it or not, there was a tornado watch in our area today, but this is a live shot. 80 and sunny, not bad. Longest days of the year. What is the deep end? The continuing question. I'm starting to see more people ask it. I don't know what the deep end is. We're still working to define it, but we're going to talk quarterbacks tonight in Dynasty and realize that most of the bird teams have great Dynasty quarterbacks. So that might not be the deep end. That might be off the deep end. Still, we want to make sure we try to appeal to every audience. They tell you try to not do that. Single in on a certain demo. We see it differently. So we'll talk that quarterbacks in some depth tonight. Also look at a couple of recent rookie drafts and dynasty startups. We'll talk the game. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. Welcome to the deep end. I think you know this about me. I'm not a big "how are you" guy.
Okay, well then let's just skip the pleasantries then. You know what I mean? I survived the hurricane as well. So,
yes.
Or tornado, whatever it was supposed to be.
My polite advice is, and I learned this from other people when I was younger, you don't need to ask your co-host how they're doing. Who cares? They don't tell you anyway. So just hit
right.
it. Just step on the gas and go. Which is not exactly what I just did, talking about bird teams. But at least it wasn't trite and meaningless. All right. So you're up first here, Adam. We've all been following this $750 Triflex startup. It's still going somehow.
Still somehow, yeah. It's still going. It might have been over a month now. Or just over a month. There are 4 picks left in the entire. We're around 26. 4 picks left. I might as well. Oh, I got to share my screen again. Son of a gun. I logged off. Now I logged back on. Let's see if it works. There we go. Okay, perfect. So here we are. Let's go all the way down. A month's worth of work. 4 picks left. Our last pick of the draft was Chigoziem Okonkwo. Is that
he goes by Chig or Chig? So that'll make it easier. Okonkwo. I have some Okonkwo.
Perfect. So this is why I get co-owners that are like college football guys, because I'm like, all right, you take over around 20. And so you can see we're alphas only. We got Chigo. We got Samori Toure. We got Eno Benjamin. I've heard of him. Eno Benjamin. I've heard of him. Miles Gaskin in the 23rd. I'm thinking Gaskin could latch on. I know he's Miami, but he could latch on as a kind of a late camp, whatever, drop, pick up, scat back for somebody else. And it's the 23rd round. Kyle Phillips in the 22nd. Jerome Ford, I've heard of him in the 21st. So yeah, Danny Gray, our guy Danny Gray. So that's kind of how the end of this draft is gone.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. I gave my co-owner carte blanche to do whatever he wanted at the end. I trust him. I think we may have gone a little bit too rookie crazy. Here's the roster so far, Mike. Superflex, Triflex, Best Ball, quarterbacks Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, Malik Willis. I like that. DeAndre Swift. It's kind of like a hero RB build here. DeAndre Swift, and then a bunch of nothing. Naheem Hines, Darrell Henderson, Damian Harris.
Henderson is live for me.
Henderson's live. I completely agree there. So those are kind of the running backs of note. And then receivers, we're really loaded at receiver. Diggs, Adams, Tyreek Hill, Gabe Davis, T. Higgins. We can start them all. Toure, Kyle Phillips, Danny Gray. And then tight end, we went crazy at tight end too. So Irv Smith, Evan Ingram, Dawson Knox. Again, it's best ball. Greg Dulcich. Yes. I've heard it both ways. I like that pick. We weren't planning on going tight end again, but I was like, you know what? It was like the 22nd round, maybe. I said, go Dulcich. 18th round, sorry.
18th round.
18th round Dulcich. So we don't have a first round pick next year, but I really like the way that this team rounded out. Do any players jump off the page at you?
Well, it's a quarterback night. Do you have to pick only 3?
No, we could have gotten more.
But, I mean, where are we at? I saw Bridgewater on your board there. At some point, maybe 5 to 10 rounds ago, because your third quarterback was in round 10, and Willis would have been maybe quarterback 30-ish?
Willis was quarterback 26, and his ADP was like quarterback 18 or something. We got him 4 or 5 rounds past ADP. I thought it was pretty wild.
Wow. Yeah, so how do you feel? How comfortable are you having 3, and one of them's Mills, and one of them's Willis? Or no?
Yeah.
Is it 4 with Willis? No, it's not. You don't have Mills.
I don't have Mills. No.
I'm Allen,
okay with
Cousins, and Willis.
Yeah, I'm okay with it because Allen's going to start every single week. He's been the QB1 for 2 years in a row. He's going to be fine. And if we lose Allen, and if Allen gets hurt, we're toast anyway. So, but I do like, we got Kirk Cousins. I think he'll be fine again as well. And again, we can start 5 receivers, and we've got 5 stud receivers. So I think we're okay if Willis can if Willis can start this year. I really, really like it. I think we have some trade bait as well. The only thing I don't. So I made a kind of this year, and this isn't a dynasty thing at all. It's more of a best ball thing. I wanted to go into best ball this year, and try to avoid taking zeros later in the draft. Yeah, I'm thinking more of like FFPC best ball or even like underdog, where it was. I'm thinking about the Draft Sharks Invitational last year, where I just couldn't catch Chad because I was taking too many zeros in the 17th, 18th, 19th rounds, guys that was doing absolutely nothing. But I feel like this team, after round 20, I feel like we have possibly a lot of zeros, but I don't in this format. It's my first time doing this format. I don't know how many guys we got Kyle Phillips and we've got Myles Gaskin and Eno Benjamin and, just a lot of guys that might not do Samari Toure. They might not do anything, but then I'm looking around and I'm looking at, Jeff Wilson, Rex Burkhead, Matt Breida. Are those guys even going to do anything either on some of these other teams? So I guess everyone's kind of struggling with the same thing at that point in the draft.
Well, you got to figure out, and I'm sure you've thought about this, but why did your zeros get zeros? I doubt if you're talking about last round picks, it was because they were injured. It's probably because they didn't have the draft capital in the first place, which you have that challenge here, or they didn't have the depth chart in their favor in the first place, which you might have that challenge here. And so a lot of it's luck, but some of it isn't. I think having 3 QBs it's a pretty good test. You're definitely loaded at receiver and even tight end. I like the tight ends you picked a lot. I like Ingram for what he costs, Irv Smith for what he costs. Dulcich makes sense. He's an athlete, he's a player. And Albert O, as much as everybody loves him, and I have too, but who knows what that is? And you have Knox. I'm not really on Knox, but I mean, he had 9 touchdowns last year. So I like the names. Wide receiver, you can't argue. Some of those guys have a real uphill battle. Gaskin could be on another team. I think you said that.
I would probably prefer it, but
I think Willis is the most interesting pick because Daniel Jones and Matt Ryan went right after Willis. And if you traded your first, you're kind of priced in to win now. So you might need a Tannehill injury, or you might need, what you need on Willis? You need good news. You need people who are talking him up, or Tennessee to be starting badly. And then you can either you can trade him for an older starter, like, I don't know, Rodgers or somebody like that. Yeah. And then go for it. Or else, he ends up getting on the field. But I don't expect him to play.
Yeah, one of the reasons why we took him there at that point, we were not thinking Malik Willis at all in this draft. And then, he fell 5 rounds past ADP, and that was exactly it. And we can use him as trade bait because, in Superflex, quarterbacks are everything. And you get some good news on a guy like Malik Willis, we could probably get a lot for him. So,
you know what though?
Exactly.
You need it. Like what I remember about Patrick Mahomes. So that draft happens. The Chiefs trade up with the Bills and draft Patrick Mahomes, but Alex Smith is the starter, and there's no news at all about that not happening. We had an occasional guest on my WGR show, Therese Paylor, the late Therese Paylor, who covered the Chiefs before he went to Yahoo. And, we would want to know about Mahomes because the Bills traded the pick. And, I mean, anybody can be right or anybody can be wrong, but this guy was so definitive. He came on our show that summer. Is like, you need to see him in practice. Like, you need to see Patrick Mahomes play or else you don't understand what I'm talking about. And like that's a rare case, but you want some sort of momentum for your guy because otherwise what's sort of the lingering smell on him, if you will? It's that he didn't get picked until like the middle of the third round, and that shocked everybody. So you found out what the NFL thinks of him. And the Titans were supposed to like him, but the Titans the speculation was they could have picked him in round 1 and they didn't, and then round 2 and then they didn't. Anyway, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. He's a key man, and if you start, is it head to head?
No, it's best ball. Nope.
Best ball points.
Total points. Yep.
You know what? I was going to say keep me posted on this league, but the draft will never end, so you won't have to because next week we'll sit here and we'll get an update on the draft, and there'll be 3 picks left in a week.
3 picks left. Bingo. So
all right. Good luck with Damian Harris too. Like there's another guy that has to be this year, maybe. You agree?
Yeah, he was our RB. I think he was probably our second running back taken. And so it was just a guy like, hey, we need another body, just someone to start. We're planning on only starting 2 running backs on this team, but we got it's best ball. So Naheem Hines, he could have an 8-catch game. McKissick could have an 8-catch game. Slide in there with our guy DeAndre Swift, who I really like for Dynasty. So, and again, we're built on quarterbacks, Josh Allen, and then our depth and quality at receiver. So,
Allen Davis Diggs Knox.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir.
Go Bills.
Go
By the way,
Bills.
Thanks for not wearing deep end clothes, or is your hat a deep end hat? Because we would match. That would be
it's a deep end hat.
Is it?
That's right. That's right.
Have to have at least one piece. You know the rule. The rule.
Of course.
The rule is you can never have more than one logo on at one time unless you're actually on a team.
What do you mean?
You can't wear
like
a Bills hat
and a Bills shirt and a Bills shirt.
Right.
Okay.
Because, like, come on.
What if you're at a game, though? Can you wear it to a game?
It's the only place where it might not be a terrible idea. Because everybody else around you, half the people around you are doing that. Oh, you're for the Bills? Right. Oh, you're for the Bills? Oh, you're for the Bills? Oh, you're for the Bills? Oh, there's 70,000 of us here for the Bills? Like, one or the other. That's the rule. One or the other. Never go out in public with 2 sports logos, even if they're conflicting. That's probably worse. It's bad in its own right.
Yeah, that's definitely worse.
My son, he's on a baseball team and a lacrosse team, and like every day he's wearing his current baseball team logo, his old baseball team logo, his current lacrosse, his old lacrosse. I'm like, dude, just let's talk about that.
Let's stick to it. That's right. Let's talk about that. That's right.
All right. LOSAD, which everybody knows is short for the League of Shopes and Dreams.
Obviously.
Going into year 5. So we do our league on RT Sports, which I like. Every site has its pluses and minuses. Future draft picks is tough on RT, but some things I really prefer about it. The draft board is tough to read, as you'll see in a moment if you've never looked at an RT Sports draft board. Like, this is a 5th year of a dynasty league, and where's the top pick? Did Kenneth Walker get picked first? No. Breece Hall got picked first, and you really can't tell the order by this board.
No.
But I like the pretty colors. I didn't want to give you a list, and I was there. I can tell you what the order was.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. So rookie draft with some veterans mixed in. We went. Am I going to get this right? Breece Hall 1, Kenneth Walker 3, London 2 to the middle of the screen, Drake London 2 overall, then Walker, then Kevin Payne of RotoWire picked Treylon Burks 4. It's over to the right. I'm not helping by pointing. I'm just doing that for myself as cars drive by.
That's right.
Wilson to Louis G, who has been on. We know Louis.
Sure.
Then Cook went 6. What do you think of Cook at 6 in a lineup?
I don't think I like it. I think that I don't know. I think that he's going to be more of a receiving back, and unless they really want to focus on, checking it down to the running backs for the next 4 or 5 years, I don't think in Dynasty. I mean, he's definitely the best back on the team, but they could easily, get rid of Singletary next year and add another, first and second down roll back and just keep James Cook in the same receiving role. But hey, he's going to be on an explosive offense that throws the ball a lot, so it could work out for him. But I probably like the players after a little bit better.
That's a team. You might notice the word tank in the name. That's a team that's playing for the future. So,
sure.
Just in general, I would not pick a running back if I were tanking. I would, in the middle of this first round, I would have taken Olave or,
yes,
maybe it's Olave. It's Olave or Williams, who is I know he's to the left, but he's not been picked yet in this order. So James Cook, then you have Olave. Then I think it would be Williams at 8. 9 was Watson, Christian Watson, and I went 10, Rachaad White. Now I have a good team. And what I wanted to do here, I've heard Mike Leone talk about this. At least I think I have. Where on a dynasty team, there was nobody on the board at 10 that was going to start for me. So
right.
I wanted to get running backs out of this draft and then just have those potential backup, handcuff, fill-in guys. I mean, I go Barkley and Eckler and then Miles Sanders and Pollard. Like, I'm fine. But if it breaks down and I have a team I'm trying to win with, am I going to have a better chance with a handcuffy type running back or, a Wan'Dale Robinson or somebody like that? I mean, who would have gone there? Maybe was Sky Moore might have been off the board.
Where is Sky Moore? I've been scouring the board for Sky Moore, and I can't.
He's under James Cook.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Hall, London, Walker, Burks, Wilson, Cook, Olave, maybe then Moore, and then Watson, Jameson Williams. I don't know. Can I go back to talking about the site? Just like I should have shown you a list. Yeah. Anyway, how do you feel about if you're sort of all set, you pick the running backs instead? Is that a good general strategy?
I don't hate that. I mean, it depends on the format. I would prefer, if I'm all set, to take the best player available, maybe, because that even, I'm assuming you guys are allowed to trade in this. Yep. But again, it's like I think at that point, the running back you took might have been the best player available anyways. So I think that as long as you're not reaching like crazy to do it, I think it totally makes sense.
So there's a veteran that stands out in round 2, and that's also my team. When I took Zach Wilson, he was cut, and we'll get into quarterbacks here shortly. Zach Wilson, as a backup to Lamar Jackson. At the time, Tua was on my roster, but I later traded him for Rondale Moore. I don't care about being deep at quarterback. I really don't prioritize that in a 1 QB league, even if it's dynasty. And there are guys in this league that stock 5 or 6 of them. And so I guess it's a gamble a little bit to trade Tua, but Rondale Moore I thought was a way better option for me. You have a thought on how many quarterbacks? We just did your RotoViz team, but can you get away with 2? Would you risk that if you had a team you thought could win a title?
Absolutely, because you can always, in one quarterback leagues, you can always trade to a team. Like if you have an injury, you can always trade a team to a team that's not competing that year or not competing, late in the year for a Matt Ryan or something to hold you over for the rest of the year. So,
Right.
Yeah, I think two's absolutely fine.
Okay. So sorry that this doesn't line up for those of you who are watching. I mean, a lot of people are relative term who are with us tonight are listening and not watching. And I may have done a very poor job here of explaining this or laying this out, but I'm looking at the grid and trying to remember it. Let's not do another LoSAD recap. Tried it.
You might have to do a spreadsheet for that website.
I might owe everybody who was watching or listening tonight an apology.
No, I think. Listen, it's my question is, rookie drafts. How much longer? We're doing a dynasty show. We do one, about every week. Is it the FFPC main event is starting July 4th? Does that signify the end of rookie draft season? I mean,
I think it's already late. Yes,
that's the vibe I kind of get. I mean, I don't do a ton of dynasty drafts. I've been about 9 or 10, but I feel like it's late for a rookie draft.
It definitely is. I have 3 left, and 2 are on Labor Day weekend.
Oh my gosh!
I don't run those leagues. That's what they tell me. It seems like I feel like the most fun thing about Dynasty is you sort of ramp up to the NFL draft, then it happens, then you go. And if I'm in 10 of these, I don't want to have 10 rookie drafts starting on that Sunday morning after the NFL draft, but I definitely want to have at least one. And then Ideally you stagger the rest, but you're right. I don't want to be, the high stakes thing can cut into it. But apart from high stakes, most leagues, and Dynasty are starting in August, late August. So if you are in the high stakes space, then that gets in the way a little bit. But I think you want to get into your draft once the NFL draft is over. So for me, that would definitely be May or I guess June. This one is my league. And for whatever reason, when I started it, I didn't really know anything then 4 years ago, but we picked second Saturday in June, probably because it worked for the most guys who could come to the draft. Sure. A lot of drafts are online and they don't care about that necessarily, but I wanted to have a league where that day was important to me. That meant stapling it in on the calendar every year. Second Saturday in June, we do this, and the winner of our league picks the location or at least sort of the theme of it and make it, because it's the only, in dynasty leagues or in regular leagues, it's the only time you ever get together with everybody, unless you sort of build in more opportunities or more events like that. So those drafts are pretty short too. I feel like I want to get the most out of that day.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point too. If it's not an online draft, if you have to get everybody together and you're making plans, then you got to make it for whatever weekend you guys can get together. But I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like the FFPC rookie drafts ended like weeks ago. But like you said, if everyone's trying to get together, they're trying to golf, you're trying to do whatever, then you gotta make it for a weekend that works.
Mid-May for those when they start, and there's 6 rounds, and they move pretty fast. I think it might be a 6 or an 8 hour clock, perhaps in those FFPC rookie drafts. By the way, before we get to the next thing, we're going to talk quarterback rankings. Anybody who wants to watch a draft with us can do so tomorrow night. We'll be right back here, same channels, drafting in the Superflex Bowl at FFWC. Billy Muzio, Bradley Stalder, and perhaps 1 or 2 other familiar names will be drafting in that. We've got skin in the game on these, so you can see not just what we say, but what we're actually doing on the spot while we're, podcasting. And sometimes being on makes it harder to make the picks you want to make. So that'll be tomorrow night at 9. And there might even be a spot open left, Adam. Do you know?
I think there might be 1 or 2. I'll tweet it out again when we're done and get that filled. Hopefully Bulldog slid in there. You know what I mean?
There's
and we
no
can get him.
Chance.
There's no chance.
No. There's no chance of him swimming the Niagara River right now. Not even ever, but right now. Then this is not a river you want to swim, by the way. Because if you jump in the water behind me, in an hour, you're over the falls.
Right. Yeah, that current, that's the deep end, folks.
That is the deep.
That's the deep end.
He has a bet. It's more likely that he is swimming behind me than he will join that draft.
All right. Fine.
This is Bulldog, my partner on WGR. Okay. We're going to do Dynasty rankings, somewhat of a breakdown each week here through July or into July at least. And we'll go by position, starting with quarterbacks tonight. We're going to use our friends at Draft Sharks. The deep end is powered by Draft Sharks. And we're going to use their rankings. If you're on with us on YouTube, you can see them. We're not going to keep the board up or their rankings up the whole time. I do like this site a lot. I love the logos. Logos mean a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely sharp. Jason's done a great job over there. Jason's done a great job getting the site looking sharp. It's a brand new site this year. I love it. The Dynasty rankings are also the Dynasty area of the website is also new. You can search by, PP, non-PPR, half point, full, point and a half. You can customize it. And how the rankings are done is for the Dynasty rankings specifically, they take the rankings from the site that Jared, Kevin, and Matt do, and they project a 3-year, 5-year, and 10-year fantasy output based on the player's age, their projection, historical trends that go with a player's age, and so that kind of, and you can it's got a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, and you can kind of change it up. You can search based on that, and so that's pretty cool. So I like that.
I like
feature.
that too. I mean, I'm using the Draft Sharks live draft tool right now, and I decided to set it up manually and not sync the leagues, and it's so sharp. I mean, upside play and all these. I tweeted this today. I was so impressed with it. So definitely a very good site.
Yeah, it's great.
So is there how do you want to set this up? Like if you're just sort of starting out, since we're looking at it just quickly, and again, if you're not, I'm sorry, you can find us on YouTube and watch this back. But if you're setting up this list for yourself, for your own purposes, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, what do you want to sort of start with? How do you look at it?
Yeah, so the way I like to look at quarterback specifically is I like to look at I like to think about obviously the talent, the age, but I also, the fun thing about Dynasty is you get to look at stuff from a macro perspective and look at the whole picture. And for quarterbacks, I feel like, the talent that's around them, the team that they're on has a lot to do with their value, where they've come from as far as talent, where they're at now and what the future looks like. So for example, if you want to talk about, the number one Dynasty ranked quarterback here is Josh Allen. The interesting thing about Josh Allen is he's young, he's 26, very talented, but he's also, I don't think, at least I hope, that he hasn't peaked as far as talent on the roster, right? Like there are other teams. I mean, you look at the Chargers, you look at the maybe the Chiefs still, look at the Eagles, look at, the Broncos, the Bengals, the Rams, all those teams have better skill guys. And I feel like Josh Allen hasn't peaked yet as far as the amount of talent that they can put around him. So I feel like the fact that he's been the QB1 for 2 years, I think that it's exciting for his dynasty outlook to see that he can even be better longer with a good supporting cast around him. Kind of to counter that, you look at maybe like a Patrick Mahomes, came into the league, Hall of Fame coach, perfect situation, maybe the best tight end to ever play the game. Tyreek Hill, who's going to the Hall of Fame, two guys who you couldn't cover on the football field. Absolutely perfect situation. Well, now, years later, we got Kelsey's 33, Tyreek Hill's gone, so I feel like his skill guys are plateauing. So maybe he drops down a little bit. Quarterback ranking here is 4th for dynasty quarterbacks. Right now, perfect situation, Justin Herbert for the Chargers. He's got a phenomenal number 2 receiver in Mike Williams. He's got a pass catching running back. He's got a good receiving tight end. He's got Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen's 30. Mike Williams is a free agent. Eckler's old. So that's another situation where has he peaked? Have his skill guys peaked? So I don't want to get too deep into it yet, but that's the kind of the way that I look at it is what do the skill guys look like? What does the team look like? and can the players around them get better?
Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
No, he's not terrible.
Oh, no. And listen, his skill guys are fine. I'm just saying, like, you could, I mean, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon.
Yep.
I mean, if you get, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's, if teams like the Bengals can put that group together, I mean, next year the Bills could add Mike Williams. You know, the Bills could add, you know what I mean? There's room to grow in that offense. It hasn't, they could have added Saquon Barkley. You know, there's, an elite pass catching, whatever, like an elite pass catching tight end. I mean, there's just room to grow in that offense. There's room to grow for Lamar Jackson. There's room to grow for Kyler Murray, and that might start week 6, you know, when he gets all of his weapons back. So that's the kind of the way that I look at it.
I really think you did a great job there. You know, I'm sort of ready when I hear, because of my other job and then talking to you, when I hear a pro Josh Allen argument starting, I'm sort of on guard because, like, I'm going to hear something here that sort of
annoys
reveals the person to just be like super fan, and I'm going to have something. It's not to say he hasn't been amazing. He's totally been amazing. I like the argument that there's more room. The Bills have been so competent in these last 3 years with their roster. Even Emmanuel Sanders didn't really work out, but it made sense.
Yeah.
And then Davis is just in the back there waiting to have his turn, and so many people in the industry think he's about to get it. And I don't disagree. He's just an interesting player to debate. Okay. I think also you want to factor in, I mean, it's so close with these. I think 1 to 5 at least is pretty, you're not going to rank them. 100 people are not going to rank 1 to 5 100 different ways, but there's a lot of good debates here, at least between 2 to 5 or 1 to 4, depending on how you slice it. What is the quarterback's place in the organization? Mahomes and Allen are nailed to those teams. Like, they are completely all set. They are in there for a long time, and there's almost no chance that changes. Murray's one of these guys that might have wanted out. Who knows what Jackson is thinking, and Herbert's just not up yet. I would not expect any sort of controversy there, but you never know. So if you're ranking these guys or deciding between them, there's a little bit more security in Allen and Mahomes because of the contracts they've gotten. Jackson makes you wonder. Having said that, Adam, I think Jackson, and maybe this is true of Murray too, I guess I would say it is, are both a little bit cheaper in drafts than I think they ought to be, because you're just in the news, you're hearing about it was Murray first and then Jackson. Like, oh, he doesn't have a deal. He's not at this practice. You know, Murray scrubbed the Cardinals from his Instagram. Like, those kinds of things usually don't matter. Sometimes they do, but usually they don't. So anybody playing fantasy football in volume is playing the odds. And what are the odds? The odds are almost always ignore that stuff. So I think Jackson and Murray have been good deals, if you will, this summer in drafts, because somebody in your league or enough people in your league have some suspicion about whether or not they're going to be in the same situation. And who knows if it's even bad for them, like you said about someone else earlier. Like if it was I guess Gaskin is who I'm thinking of here, but
yeah,
if Jackson leaves Baltimore, if they decide that Greg Roman is more important to the Ravens than Lamar Jackson, which would be just unconscionable. It's almost that to me that he's still the offensive coordinator of that team.
I know
the way their passing offense looks. Then so be it, and Jackson will be on a team that doesn't play that way. I don't think that's going to happen, but they're all so young. What a point in time in football and in dynasty football where you have these quarterbacks that just they tip the field in especially in Superflex in terms of how good you are in your league, whether you have one of these 5 or 6.
Yeah, great point about Lamar Jackson. I was to bring that up. It's if you are a Lamar Jackson dynasty owner, if you're a Lamar Jackson fan, you want him out of Baltimore or Greg Roman out of Baltimore. I mean, they asked him today, I guess, are you going to be a Raven for something about, what's your future like with the Ravens? You're going to retire with the Ravens. I mean, he said, I hope so, or I think so. Like, if I'm Lamar, I'm trying to get the heck out of there because they've done nothing. Now, I don't want to say that they have drafted guys in the first round, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, like those are high picks. Bateman, he was hurt all last year, but I think they could have done more. They should have done more. But like you said, Greg Roman wants to run. If I'm Lamar, I'm trying to get out of there. And if I'm a Lamar dynasty owner, I want him out of there, or I want Greg Roman out of there, because in order for him to maximize his potential and his longevity. The reason why I'm kind of off of Lamar for dynasty right now is because of the situation he's in, and he's a little undersized, and the injuries are starting to catch up with him. The last 2 years, I think he hasn't finished the season, so that kind of scares me with running with guys that are really blazing fast and being tiny. But other than that, like if they were to add a bunch of weapons, or if he were to get out of there, I would be back on Lamar. Kyler, the Cardinals are doing what we would hope the Ravens would do with Lamar. They added DeAndre Hopkins a couple of years ago. Then they just added Marquise Brown, Zach Ertz, James Conner's a pass catcher. Like they're trying to put weapons around their young QB. So I like them both. I like Kyler probably a little bit more because they are putting those weapons around him. But for Lamar's sake, man, get the heck out of Baltimore.
By the way, so last year he did miss the last 5 or so games. The year before is the year where he's injured in the beginning of the fourth quarter in Buffalo.
The playoff game. Yep.
In the playoff game. He made it pretty far. 6 through 10 on this list, Burrow, Lance. Am I looking at the 10-year?
Let me see.
I'm looking at the 3-year, I think. Whatever the default is. Maybe it's 5. I'm not sure. No, I'm looking at the Dynasty MVP column. The way it just it comes when you buy it. This is the way it shows up when you buy it.
Yeah.
Burrow, Lance, Watson, Fields, Hurts. Adam, each one of these guys is super interesting to consider, if not polarizing. Burrow, least of all. What is the knock on Burrow? It's only that you don't get the running points. You don't get the cheat code points. But the situation there, assuming the Bengals commit to him, which they may feel like they have to and want to when the time comes. They're just not an organization known for doing that very well. Lance, let's go. Watson, let's not. Let's skip. Let's move on. There's nothing left to say about Watson, and everything, is pretty gross. Fields at 9 and then Hurts at 10. So you have 2 guys there that each have tremendous athletic ability, each offer the free points in fantasy for the kind of players they are. And also, I think it's in terms of Fields too, they're also each guys that could be out soon. So in Dynasty, this is where I think it comes to, if you're thinking that way, it comes to how good is your team? And if you had a team where there's an opening at quarterback, and I'm thinking more super flex, but not necessarily, you want to win this year, wouldn't you rather have like Derek Carr than Fields?
To win this year? Yeah, maybe. I think it depends on who else I have on my team. Carr's going to have a really good year, but again, he doesn't have those cheat code points. But I completely agree with your point about those quarterbacks. Now, I would so my tier is probably Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, break, Lamar, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, break. Because Joe Burrow, I think they're going to commit to him. They've got all the talent in the world around him, young star receivers. Tyler Boyd will probably move on eventually, but he's very good. Mixon's getting older, but running backs are easy to replace. They can upgrade at tight end if they want to as well. So I really feel like he's safe. He's not the cheat code, but he's safe. So he's not going anywhere. Then after that, you got Lance, Watson, Fields, Hurts. Those guys I'm not touching. I would rather take one of those first 6 guys or take the group of quarterbacks that we'll talk about after that, rather than take one of these guys, because like you said, they all might be out after this year. Hurts, Fields, Lance, are they good enough? We'll see. Watson, who knows? Nobody knows with that situation. I'd rather wait and see who hits, see who's staying, and then pay up for them if I have to. But I'm just avoiding. I don't know about you. I know you love Lance. I love the idea of Lance too. But I think I'm avoiding this tier here altogether.
I think the key swing thought is, again, it's nervousness about them that pushes them down a little bit. They're not it's not so much down on this list. They're all in pretty good shape on this list because the guys above them are so solid. But there's just that nervousness. There can be an edge you can find in your league because somebody is worried that Lance isn't going to start or be good, or, the Watson, the anxiety about his career is obvious. Then you have Fields and Hurts as well. Will they both be out? Just sort of figure out how to read that. And these are really more for a 2-quarterback league. In a 1, you can easily back them up with somebody like a Matt Ryan or somebody that's just fine, and you have nothing to worry about. But in a 2-quarterback league, then, you might have to make a call, and don't be afraid to buy the dip on guys like that, because as long as you're not scared, you might be fine.
Yeah, I was totally gonna just about to say that too. Is in Superflex or 2 QB leagues, these decisions are way more important, right? Because you're spending so much to get these quarterback assets. That's why I kind of want to avoid those guys. In a 1 QB league, take a shot on them. It doesn't. You can move on to another one. There's always quarterbacks and waivers. You can always trade for someone. But in Superflex 2-quarterback leagues, man, once you plant your flag on a quarterback or two, those are the guys you're kind of stuck with for a while, and you kind of got to ride or die with those guys.
To sort of move along here, Adam, thinking about some of the underdog drafts I've been in, I'm liking needing a quarterback late in those drafts because there are easy starters there. Now, that's not Dynasty, but that's what I think of when I think of the list of players such as Daniel Jones here at 22, Goff at 24, Tannehill, Wentz, Mills, Winston. Again, I know we're looking at a Dynasty list and speaking to that audience, but I feel like there are some pretty playable, at least in an emergency, starting quarterbacks for this year. So in Dynasty, you have to make sure you have, or I think you'd want to make sure you have somebody like that, and then you choose your preference. But I think a guy like Tannehill and Goff and maybe Daniel Jones, those are all fairly high ownership guys for me in those drafts because I think they're almost locked in, and they do give you some reasonable potential for good points.
Yeah, we've talked about Daniel Jones before, and we'll talk about him again. I love taking a shot on Daniel Jones, only 25, new coach, new coaching staff, new offensive coaching staff, Brian Daboll. Talent, if it can stay healthy, talent all over the place. Galladay, Tony, Saquon. And again, a room for growth there as well. I think I like taking a shot on a guy like Daniel Jones because I think they're going all in on him this year. Let's see what we have in this guy, and then if he's not good, we'll move on from him next year. But I would rather take a shot on Daniel Jones late in these dynasty drafts than it's more comfortable for me than taking a shot on a guy like Justin Fields or even Trey Lance because it's so much cheaper. And if he shows he's a competent NFL quarterback, I think they'll stick with him. I know they didn't give him that 5th year. But that's a guy. That's the situation I like doing. And another one, and I know you're going to hate this, but he's so cheap, is Mitch Trubisky. Again, he's going to a team, a competent organization, talent galore around him. He showed flashes in Chicago where he had spreads when in his 2nd year. He's a running, passing guy. Kind of like a Daniel Jones. I forgot to mention that Daniel Jones does have that athleticism with his legs. Trubisky, I wouldn't bet on him because they took a quarterback in the 1st round. But man, he could. There's a shot that he comes out and he got all that nonsense out of him from when he was with the Bears. He came into Buffalo, maybe learned some things, and now he comes out of that situation. Maybe he's just better, and the talent around him is awesome. And I think that he's another guy, again, you can get for free that I would be taking a shot on.
Pickett on this list, Kenny Pickett, is number 20 in
Take
terms
them
of
both.
Dynasty.
Take them both.
Maybe. I think, and I'm not expecting this, but I think if the Steelers sort of got it right, Pickett would play from the beginning. And some of that is that, it's, again, why I don't expect it. It's not how teams tend to think, especially a team like the Steelers, which are always good. They have a year here where they can afford to lose. It's a year they got lucky last year and they just drafted a quarterback in the first round. You know, if they got beat, they lost 11 games this year in a pretty good division. What would you say? Like, all right, well, that happens. You know, we've been waiting for the Steelers to sort of drop. Tomlin's never had a losing season, not even one. I mean, just not even 7-9 any one of these years. Last year was the year for it, and they got through anyway. So I think it should be Pickett. This is how you find out. But teams don't always do that. I mean, Lance didn't play hardly at all, and they went to the NFC Championship, San Francisco. So in terms of dynasty, it's easily Pickett, but you want to take a chance and again, it's super flex quarterback 3 or even 4.
Yeah, I mean, he's on your roster, maybe. Yeah, you're not building around him, but as a QB 3 or 4, I really, again, you could take them both as your QB 3 and 4. But I think, I mean, I read recently they said it's Trubisky's job to lose, and it's just a gut feeling that, you know, with the tool, he's a former, you know, top 5 quarterback pick. I think he's got the tools. If he can get his head on straight and he's got the talent around him, I think he might hold on to that job all year. And even if he just holds on to it for 1 year, I mean, in a super flex, that's going to be great for you because the talent around him is really, really good.
Let's wrap on Davis Mills. Wrap it on Davis Mills.
Yes.
How good do you think his chances are of, it's the same question, you know, like sort of being productive this year and staying on? They're almost definitely going to be picking, I mean, top 5 next year.
Yeah.
So Mills would have to almost necessarily be good enough to scuttle that to stay on. Like the Minshew situation in Jacksonville. Okay, he's pretty good, but they have nothing invested here of importance. He's got to have to really produce and win games and wreck the Trevor Lawrence tank plan to be able to stay on. And we saw that was true. As soon as, you know, the season played out, he wasn't able to keep that up. And it was all about Lawrence, and Minshew was on the Eagles. So is that what Mills is likely to be facing? Sort of a scenario like that? Is he not on the Texans in 23?
Exactly. And you keep stealing my thunder tonight. I love that we're locked in tonight. I was going to use Gardner Minshew as an example. Yeah, they're not going to be good. I just, you know, and I think Davis Mills has that kind of scrappy. He's got a big arm, and not that Minshew had a big arm, but I just feel like he's got some tools, and I think they're going to rally around him. And especially if they win a couple games, you know, it might be a situation like, oh, we might want to bench Davis Mills so we don't win, you know, 6 games. But they're going to be picking in the top 5. From what I hear, the quarterback class next year is supposed to be really good. So I don't see Davis Mills being on any longer than this year. But again, I think he's on all of this year. So if you need a QB3 and a super flex, take him, you know, super late, have him on the team for a year. You know, maybe he shows well enough to end up somewhere else next year as a bridge quarterback or something. Like, who knows? But I don't see him having a future with Houston. But for 1 year, I think he'll be okay for you. I mean, he's not going to be. He probably won't even be a QB2. But again, like I'm thinking of, like, I play in these best ball super flex leagues where, like, he might have a week here or there where he pops into your starting lineup. So, but other than that, I wouldn't plan on him being there any longer than this year.
I think if my team is good and I have Mills, I'm happy because he's going to start the year. There is some talent to work with, and I'm good. If I'm young, he sort of feels like a fit, but I would try to move him. I would move him for one of these guys, like maybe even Daniel Jones, somebody who your fellow league mate is down on, and try to get a draft pick too, and let them bet on Mills starting for Houston for more than one season. And that way you get, even if it's someone older, it might seem counterintuitive, but I'm a young team. I've got the young players. I want to just take all my chances in that direction. But you trade him for somebody like a middling quarterback. I think maybe Jones is the best name I can think of. What if Aaron Rodgers lasts for longer? Well, they're not going to trade you Aaron Rodgers, but there might be a trade there, and I'd be willing to move him and see if you can get
maybe Goff, maybe a Jared Goff or something.
Yeah, you know, the hype on Goff is pretty strong right now, and how the Lions are like all excited about him. Is that believable? Are they going to be too good to draft a good quarterback next year?
Probably. I mean, he's he's got, again, that's a team that's got weapons galore. It's got a top running back who can run and catch. It's got a top tight end in Hawkinson. It's got, young, good weapons. You got Amon-Ra, you got Jamison Williams, you got DJ Chark. Like, they have a really good offensive line, I think. So that's a team that's going to win enough games, like you said, to be out of the top 5 picks. Goff's 27, 28. Like, he's been to the Super Bowl. Like, he's proven he can do it. Everyone kind of makes fun of him and Jared Goff. Like, he makes some stupid plays, but you get him in an offense where it's just play action passing. And I think he could be a starter there for a while. Like, they're not going to win a Super Bowl with him. They're probably not going to go to the Super Bowl with him. They might not know that, but whatever. Like, he might be there for 2, 3, 4 more years. So I really like Goff. I really like Goff in redraft, getting him as my QB too late, and in Dynasty, getting him as a QB2 or a QB3 in these super flex leagues. So I really like Goff for his floor week in and week out.
Very interesting. Houston is so bad. The roster is seemingly so bad that Mills might not be able to work his way out of it. He's sort of stuck in a paper bag, and he can't get out of the paper bag. Goff is not in that situation. He's more accomplished, like you said. There might be 10 or more quarterbacks in the NFL, maybe including like Tua and Fields, that are less likely to be their team's starter in a year.
Yes.
Than Goff.
That's a great point. And I just can't, and I get it. I get it about Goff. He's got his deficiencies, but I just can't get out of my head the greatest fantasy football game I ever watched, Chiefs Rams, like 3 years ago. Like, just explosive offenses putting up. I mean, what would they put up? Like 100 points combined? Like, he's got the ability.
54-51.
They're not going to unleash him like that, but he's got weapons, and I think he's a guy that can be that can be something for your team. Like, I would take him in Dynasty. I would take him ahead of Malik Willis. I would take him ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I would take him ahead of Pickett. Like, I just think that, I think I would take him a little bit higher than the Draft Shark consensus rankings here, just because I think, like you said, he has a better chance of lasting 3 or 4 years than maybe Tua and some of those guys a little bit higher.
I can't believe you just said you hate the Draft Sharks consensus rankings.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Why do you hate the Draft Sharks consensus rankings? I thought we were friends. I did not say
that. Scratch that.
So again, Adam and I will be on tomorrow. Find us the same way. Drafting in the Superflex Bowl, where quarterbacks go right fast at the top.
Yes.
And that's fun. Join us in there. We'll do a few of those, actually. So if you don't get in with us tomorrow night and you want to play, look for our Twitter, DeepEndFF1, and even individually, you see the Twitter handles on the screen if you're watching. Shope Talk and Adam Krautwurst. We'll be giving. We always do. We want to. I mean, it's good for us too. We give the details on when these drafts are happening, so we might see you in there. Let us know if you watch and you're in the same room with us, because that's fun. All right, Adam. Well, we are hosting this show. We're doing this show outside in June, outside of Buffalo. It's after 9. It's well after 9, and it is not dark out.
Amazing.
So not bad. It's 78 degrees.
Perfect.
Not bad.
Perfect night to watch the Celtics force a Game 7.
Celtics Warriors coming up. By Celtics Warriors, I mean Warriors Celtics. And that'll be fun. But you and I are both going to draft later, right? Like the last time we did one of these, I get a text from you like at 11:55. Football guys, blah blah blah.
Hold on,
maybe
I'm going to hop on some of these. Yeah, I was going to. If people are still listening, let me see if are there any drafts that are almost full. Because I'm going to be up no matter what. The Celtics win, I'm going to be fired up, and I'm going to be up. If they lose, I'm going to be. I'd rather draft and cry myself to sleep. So let's get something filled. Maybe on FFWC, maybe a football guy. Oh, football guys, 10 p.m., 7 of 12 left. I'll see you in there.
I'm going against you again.
We don't have to. All right, fine. Never mind.
I like the idea. I like the idea, but you know what happened last year? Actually, what happened last year is you went 11-0, and I won.
I love it.
I can never miss an opportunity to point that out. Like, I'm not afraid of going against you. I mean, I am, but that happened before. We did great. We both made money.
Dave G says, hop in a Best Ball Mania. Of course. I mean, we're always in those. We're always in a Best Ball Mania. I mean, those. I did 2 of those today.
You did?
Yeah, of course. Come on.
I'm at 24, and I'm trying to find a number that is like not ridiculous. I'm at 24.
No. Keep going. You're not even
40?
Close.
Where am I going?
Underdog Best Ball Mania. I'm not going to stop drafting until I get what I want. Every draft I get sniped on Saquon Barkley. Every draft I get sniped on Allen Robinson. Pick in front of me every time. I'm not leaving until I get who I want. So
wow,
I'll see you in a Best Ball Mania.
We showed ownership percentages last week. My number 1 is still Gronkowski. My number 1 is Gronkowski across 24 leagues. And my number 2 is Barkley.
There you go. If I could get Barkley, well, I keep taking him we're on a Dynasty show. I keep taking him at the 2-1, 2-2, 2-3. You keep showing off, and I get these messages. I wake up at 3 a.m. with you at Saquon Barkley at 2-12 every freaking time.
I got him in round 5 last night. Not really. Everyone, if you're not watching, Adam is starting to wiggle in his chair, so we need to cut this off. Thanks for watching. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow night. Adam, good night.
See you guys.